Misdiagnosed, dismissed, and told just get over it. This is what long haulers face every day. But out of frustration comes advocacy, and out of pain comes hope. Another patient story coming up on The Long Haul with Summer. Welcome to The Long Haul with Summer, where we're talking with real patients about real stories and talking about their path to healing. Today, I'm so excited to have Mr. Eddie Balter in our studio with us, and he is going to tell us all about his healthcare journey. So welcome in today.
Thank you, Summer. I'm glad to be invited.
And you just got off the plane, right?
I did.
And tell us where you're coming from.
I'm coming from Maryland.
Maryland. Okay. And if you would just give us a little background about yourself and kind of how you got to our team and what that's kind of looked like.
Okay. I was very healthy prior to this vaccine. Never had a vaccine other than one flu shot, other than things when I was an infant. But through my adult life, I never did a vaccine. Always took supplements. I was on 0 medications for anything, for statins, for anything. And COVID came around, and of course, it became a big deal. I always believed in supplements and taking care of myself. A lot of pressure from all over the place to get a COVID vaccine. And I have a very close family, a wife and 2 kids, and they were mandated to take it for their work and for their school. They were in school at that time. And 11 months after they had the shot is when I finally had my schedule. And what happened was I would schedule, and back then it was like a circus. You'd schedule, they'd give you a time to show up, and I kept rescheduling. And people would say, why are you rescheduling? It's so hard to get an appointment. But I felt that it was wrong. It was not right for me. Intuitively, I did not want this shot. Ultimately, 11 months later, in May of 2021, I had the Pfizer shot at Johns Hopkins. And on my way home from the hospital, from the shot, I pulled over on the side of the road because my eyes were weeping red in pain. I had a concierge doctor at the time who also taught at Hopkins and called her and said, without names, I'm having trouble with my eyes. I had the shot 45 minutes ago, and I think this is a reaction, to which I was told, it's not a reaction to the vaccine, it's your contact lenses. To which I said, I have contact lenses, but I don't wear them during the day. I wear them only at night. It's a 0.5 prescription.
Right.
So if I'm at a ball game or if I'm watching a concert or a movie, I'll put them in. But otherwise, I don't need them for my daily work. So the argument was, well, it's your contact lenses. Well, it wasn't, and we know it wasn't. From there, my eyes got progressively worse. I sent pictures to her. I was told it was contact lenses. It was coincidental. And then I started having chest pains and a lot of coughing, trouble breathing. Long and short of it is it went from one symptom to the other, Summer, from breathing to headaches to my eyes constantly being so sensitive to where I couldn't even look at a computer at work. And my work is intellectual in that I'm writing and reading and editing. So it's not physical, it's more intellectual work, which really was debilitating.
I'm sure.
So I could work maybe an hour or 2 a day, and then I started developing serious migraines with the coughing. Again, back to my concierge doctor, who I say that because it's somebody who should be very available to you when you have an issue, as opposed to going to a clinic. And I would say, I'm having so much trouble coughing, and now I have these horrible migraines. And the story was, I thought it was your eyes. Now you're coughing. I thought it was your coughing. Now you have dizziness. And it went on and on with this for 2.5 years with 15 specialists at Johns Hopkins, an ophthalmologist, 2 optometrists, 2 GI doctors. That case happened where I had so many problems with my stomach, I couldn't eat. I was just feeling lousy, and they gave me an antacid. I said, that's really not what it is. So I took that for a week or 2, followed up with a call, and was told, double it. Well, when I doubled it, I felt worse than you could imagine, doubled over. So I called the doctor. I said, I can't take these. And his comment was, well, if you think you know a better way to take care of yourself, then you don't need to take what I'm recommending. That was not an uncommon conversation with these doctors, by the way. In each case, when I would see a doctor, they would say, when did these symptoms start? And I would say, when I got the vaccine, to which they would discredit that. Without exception. So 2 GIs, 2 pulmonologists, because I couldn't breathe. I couldn't walk to my mailbox, couldn't walk my dogs. Started getting very dizzy. So I was with a neurologist who then sent me to vertigo physical therapy, which is like the dark ages. I really equate that like leeching, because they make you dizzy and then they have you sit there until you're not dizzy again, and then they make you dizzy again. So that lasted about 5 or 6 visits, to where I thought, this is horrendous.
I know we've talked about that before when you've been in clinic about the vertigo. Yeah. I had a similar experience with cognitive retraining, where they would, make me make lists and be on Zoom calls with them. It's weird and it's barbaric and
ineffective.
It makes you feel crazy and ineffective. All the while it's ineffective.
All the while. So I'm jumping a bit, but in each case, my doctor, my concierge doctor, would get these reports, and she kept saying, well, it's not from the vaccine. You probably have COVID. I had 3 to 4 dozen COVID tests, many of them taken at Hopkins, some at home, some at Patient First, which is local to clinic to my house. Never had a positive COVID test. All of these things happening, every doctor, it's COVID or there's nothing wrong with you. The ophthalmologist thought that I might have had cataracts, but he didn't see them, so he gave me medicine for cataracts, which was not the case. Pulmonologists said everything was fine. They gave me an inhaler. That didn't help. Vertigo, as I mentioned, nothing there. Migraine medicine helped, but then the insurance company wouldn't cover it. It went on and on. Cognitive is still a challenge, but cognitive, where I couldn't focus, complete exhaustion. And Summer, I own a business, so the last thing I'm trying to do is get out of work. There is nonstop responsibility. I have a partner, I have a great staff, but my role is important to keep pushing through. One of the things that I also did was travel for work and network on a national scale. Have not been able to do that. I have no energy to do any networking or other things. So that was leading up to the COVID shot and the first 2.5 years, where basically I was discredited and not heard from specialist after specialist. I then heard from a close family friend that Robert Redfield was going into practice in Baltimore, and that I should give him a call, which I did. And I saw Dr. Redfield in May of maybe 2023. I could be off, but I think that's about right. Saw Dr. Redfield monthly, but I walked into his office, and I should back up a little bit, since I always believed in supplements, and everything was censored online. Everything was hidden. I did a lot of research, and I learned about nanokinase and quercetin and NAC and the different vitamins.
It's amazing.
All those things. So I was taking those on my own, talking to my concierge doctor, saying, I'm trying these things. What can we do? And literally, there's nothing wrong with you. You've seen all these people, like you're making it up, right? So it really puts you out of balance, because I was never sick. She was my concierge doctor for 6 years. I was never sick. So why all of a sudden do you have one thing after another? And why would a doctor not see a pattern of a healthy patient? And I did have a private trainer, so I was in good shape, 2 to 3 times a week with a trainer. Why all of a sudden you have, from your eyes to your breathing, to your cognitive, to your walking, to dizziness, why would a doctor not say something's going on here? Well, I needed to find a doctor like that. So 2.5 years, I meet Dr. Redfield. I walked into his office with a backpack full of supplements, and I poured it out on his exam table. And he came walking in, very warm, incredible man. And he said, so what's going on? And I said, I think I have a vaccine injury, but no one's hearing me. So I told him what I had gone through. I actually made a list of all of the different appointments, the different specialists,
Right.
the different medications that were given to me that I got off of that because they weren't helping. I was never a medication person, as I previously mentioned. So I said, finding these things that dissolve spike proteins or potentially could help with the issues. And this is what I'm doing, but I'm feeling worse and worse all the time. He was the first person to say, it sounds like it is a vaccine injury.
Mm-hmm.
And I explained all of the COVID tests that came out negative, which means there was no COVID issue.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like one or two false tests. It was dozens. So I explained to him what was going on, and he was concerned. Cytokines, my eyes were so horrible back then, I couldn't even look at him. It would be hard for me to keep my eyes open. Like right now, I'd be like this because they would be so sensitive to touch to the air. So he was very concerned about that. He put me on some medicines to try to help with inflammation and tried those for a bit. Continued to get worse, but he was trying different medications to try to alleviate some of the symptoms. And as he was very candid about, we don't know how to cure this vaccine injury. So it's trial and error, and we're doing everything we can. He was the first person to respect the different supplements. And I would explain, I'm taking this supplement because it does this. This one is supposed to clean your blood. This one is supposed to do that. And he made a comment that when he was taking care of HIV/AIDS patients, when he was really the trendsetter to heal, to provide medical guidance to the population that had that disease, he said, what I learned is I need to listen to patients. It was the first doctor I met who even had that attitude. And that was a big relief for me.
Yeah.
So this was in May, and then I would see him every month. To his credit, he used to text me and call me a few times a week. Which I've never had any doctor do.
Right.
Because I was in such bad condition. I'm doing much better now, but it's, you know what it's like.
Yes.
It's still a fight. We're not out of the woods. But he would call me and I would just be blown away by the fact that he would take his time and say, how are you doing today? What's going on? I'm holding you in my prayers. Just amazing care. And we've become friends since then. And he just tremendous doctor, tremendous person. In the fall, so that was through the summer. In the fall, I started really getting worse, feeling worse. I work with my sister. She was amazingly patient with me because I would be at work for an hour or two and have to go home. Really respected. People at my office probably thought I was nuts because what did we all hear? We all had the vaccine. We're fine.
Yeah.
Did you hear that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're fine.
No problem.
Right, no problem.
Yeah. You're crazy, obviously. You start to believe it.
You don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So work was supportive. Probably looked at me askance a little bit, but work was supportive. I did what I could. But I remember saying and my family was amazing. That's a hard one. But I remember saying to my sister, and I never said this to my wife or my kids, in October, I don't think I'm going to be alive for my birthday. I couldn't walk. I couldn't breathe. I had the headaches. My eyes were killing me. I felt like my body was dying. And I don't know how you could explain that other than I've never felt anything like that before.
Yeah. But
every day I felt like I was withering away and able to do less and less and less.
Yeah.
Our family friend who told us about Dr. Redfield got in touch with Teresa, my wife, and said, check out this YouTube video. There's this doctor in Alabama who's treating vaccine-injured patients. And I think Eddie should look into it, which I did. And as I mentioned, I saw Dr. Redfield every month. And I walked into his office and said, Dr. Redfield, I saw learned of a doctor in Alabama who takes care of vaccine-injured patients, to which he answered, Jordan Vaughn, yes, I've spoken to him 3 times this week. You must go see him.
Oh,
I said, well, that's what I was thinking.
yeah.
And he said, I've spoken to them. They aren't taking any new patients right now. And I spoke to them and said, you need to take this guy. And he really was instrumental. He worked back and forth. He made the appointment for me because I couldn't
That's
do
awesome.
it. He was amazing. So my appointment was January 2nd in 2024. I flew down that morning and saw Dr. Vaughn.
Mm-hmm.
So continuing with my experience with Dr. Vaughn, I couldn't even walk through the airport. When I talk about how bad things were, like I said, I did not expect to be alive within a few months.
Mm.
And that's not looking for sympathy. I didn't think I was going to be alive. Saw Dr. Vaughn. He took about half the blood from my body.
Yes.
They came in
We
with
do that.
a cart.
Yeah.
We're going to take about 20 some vials of blood
Yeah.
from you and run everything. And I was with him for a few hours that morning. Going back a little bit, in the summer, right after I saw Dr. Redfield, when I was feeling worse, I spoke to my concierge doctor. This is kind of interesting to circle back because it might pertain to other people who are listening in. I said, I'd like to be tested for blood clots. And she said, you stop being ridiculous. There's nothing wrong with you. And I said, I have read that blood clots could be causing problems. Interestingly, every one of Dr. Redfield's reports went to her as well, saying that this is a vaccine injury. Never once did she call and follow up. She said, we'll do a physical in January, February, which, of course, by October, I realized she was not the health care that I needed.
Right.
Or anybody with my condition needed, quite honestly.
Yeah.
If you have a cold or flu, I guess that's fine, but this is a different animal. So I saw Dr. Vaughn, and he, of course, is known for his microclot concerns, and did the testing. I met nothing but wonderful people at MedHelp. It was a relief. He came back a little while later, jumped on his stool, slid right over to me as he does. He's very, very involved with the patients, and he pulled out his iPad or whatever tablet he had.
Yeah.
And he said, we have your microclot results. I don't want you lifting groceries. I don't want you doing anything. And he showed me, and I looked and I said, I don't know what that means. I see a big green blob and then little speckles. And I said, I have no idea. Is that good? Is that bad? And he said, see that little dot that looks like a pin, head of a pin? And I said, yes. He said, that's a clot. Mine were like this. So I guess I had pretty advanced clots, microclots. So the treatment was triple anticoagulant and really full steam ahead, because it was so severe. And I remember and I was in the office for several hours, and I did EBU, which was unknown to me.
Right.
I felt that there was a chance that I could get better.
Wow.
I felt like I was finally heard.
Yeah.
With compassion, which was not the case, other than with Dr. Redfield, who was very compassionate. But there was no doctor at Hopkins, 14 or 15 specialists and a concierge. No one took the time and said, you're struggling. What could we do? Everything was, there's nothing wrong with you.
Right.
I remember when Dr. Vaughn, when I was finished with the appointment, I hugged him, which I was told by several people, he's not a hugger. I said, well, I am.
Yeah, too bad.
I am, too bad. I hugged him and I thanked him and I cried. It was just such a relief that maybe I could get better.
Yeah.
And originally, Dr. Vaughn suggested that the protocol was a 3 to 6 month practice. Didn't work out that way for me.
Right.
I guess it was pretty advanced. And one of the things that he did say was, I wish we would have known about this and caught it sooner, which really makes me angry because for 2.5 years, I was talking about it. So that affects my life, my family's life, my business. But nonetheless, Dr. Vaughn suggested that I come every month, do EBU every month. And like I said, originally it was 3 months, Summer, and then it was, well, we're still not where it needs to be. And we did the microclot testing every month. But one of the first things he said to me in that first meeting, again, I'm trying to keep track of some of the highlights, was, do your legs feel heavy? I said, I don't know. I don't know. I just feel so not myself, so horrible. And I didn't really know what he meant until I tried to walk through the airport to get on the plane, and I realized I could barely lift my legs. So I got in touch with him and I said, I know what you mean. My legs are very heavy. I was just concerned about everything else going on. So he wanted to do an MRI. And that's where the iliac vein compression was a concern, or something that he was starting to notice with vaccine-injured patients. My insurance company wouldn't cover it. So the second month I was here, they wouldn't cover it. The third month, I said, I'll pay for it. So Aetna Insurance didn't pay for it because they didn't feel that it was warranted. There wasn't enough treatment before the MRI. Also, the first appointment, I was with Dr. Vaughn. I was sent to do a pulmonologist test, the breath test, which probably has a better name than that.
Yeah, PFTs, yeah.
I passed out exhaling.
Oh, no.
Now, 2 pulmonologists in Baltimore told me I was fine. Here's an inhaler, right?
Yeah.
I was here. I have the device in my mouth, blow out as much as you can. I blow out. The next thing I know is somebody's holding my shoulders, lifting me back. And I said, what happened? He said, you blacked out. So I had no lung capacity. Except in Maryland, I must have had good lung capacity. Maryland, I had magic lung capacity. But I passed out. So I was in pretty bad shape. So we did the MRI. I continued with the EBU. I was on a lot of medications, reviewed the supplements with Dr. Vaughn, and I'd rather not mention them because I don't want people to self-prescribe.
Yes, right.
But I don't think that would be fair. But he agreed with what I was taking and the reasons that I was taking them, and actually increased some of the dosages of them. We've actually shared things where I've read things and said, hey, do you know about this? And we've had good conversation. He's very open to hearing about what may or may not be available for healthcare. But with the MRI, it turned out that my iliac veins were compressed 85%. And as you know, that affects the blood coming up to your lungs, to your heart. It affects cognitive, your eyes, everything. So I had to go to Denver, since no one in Maryland did iliac vein compression, stents for iliac vein compression. Did the surgery, still was having a lot of trouble with my legs. We did ultrasounds, and it turned out that 4 of the valves in my left leg were not working. And again, I was with personal trainers before the lousy vaccine. I am not an anti-vax person. It's not for me. And I did it because of pressure. And when I did it, people said, aren't you glad you did it? And I said, I feel like I totally compromised myself. So I'm not here to be negative about vaccines, but this was my experience with the COVID vaccine. So I had to go back to Denver for an ablation, which is it the saphenous? Saphenous vein was basically had to be destroyed, which it was in such a twisted condition. The upper part they did with they singe it shut, I suppose. The lower part, the doctor couldn't do that, and they injected me 17 times with foam in the vein because the vein was so badly damaged. So that was done just over a year ago. Still having significant problems with my legs, better than it was. but it's not better.
Mm.
Following everything that Dr. Vaughn suggests, the care from MedHelp through EBU, through the availability, has been unbelievable for somebody who just is scared.
Yeah.
So that's probably leaving out some things, but that's a pretty big highlight of some of the challenges. Right now, I still have horrible cognitive issues.
Mm-hmm.
I might work for an hour one day and then my brain locks up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you're looking at something and it's 2 + 2, and I know the answer. I just can't do it.
Right.
That's what's going on. I haven't been able to read a book because I don't have recall. So I listen to audiobooks. My daughter is an avid reader, and we're very close. Dad, read this book. I'm on the 4th book of a series, and I can't tell you the main characters' names.
Mm.
When I do work and I do reviews and edits and writing, it takes so much energy and effort for me to focus.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, it's like getting ready for a marathon, that I might last an hour or a half an hour if I could start it. And then I'm exhausted afterwards, and that's it for the rest of the day. Now, I mentioned to you that to come in here, and I wanted to at least impart some information that could be helpful to people listening in. I do have a medicine that my doctor gave me for being tired, which I took a part of it when I got off the plane this morning because I wanted to at least be able to explain some of the things that I went through and make our time together worthwhile. But it's been a real struggle. The medicines are reviewed. Every visit is with blood work, and the medicines are reviewed and tweaked. I used to come every month. Now it's every 6 to 8 weeks, and that's been since this summer.
Right.
I continue with the EBU. The medicines really had me down about a month ago. And I got in touch with Aisha, who has been my point person, and unbelievable love for that woman.
Yeah, she's great. She holds us all together.
She held me together. There was one time in EBU, I'll say this because she's an angel. My veins were in such bad condition, there were 3 nurses trying to find a vein that would work, that wouldn't collapse. And it was about 75 minutes of needles everywhere, and no vein would work. And they ended up going in my legs and in my feet. And I was in so much pain. And Aisha sat next to me holding my hand, saying, "We're going to get you better."
She held my hand during one of those times too, while they gave me an infusion. And that means a lot.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Because you sit there and they're, "Are you okay?" Well, I'm not okay,
Right.
but it's got to get done.
Yeah.
Her kindness up through this past week, anytime I deal with her, helps you be optimistic and push through.
Yeah.
So where was it? So about a month ago, I was feeling so confused, so out of sorts, so weak, so distraught, that I spoke to Dr. Vaughn and I said, "I think I have so many side effects from these medicines." I think there was at a time almost 14 prescription medicines and supplements. And each of them had a very specific role.
Right.
But I said, "I can't do this. It's miserable."
Yeah.
And we went through it, and he said, "Well, what we don't want is the doctor to cause more of a problem than the condition."
Yeah.
And he gave me a tremendous amount of time on a video call at the end of his day. Immediately, I got in touch with Aisha, and it was the next afternoon. He made time for me, and we went through it, and he said, "Let's try taking you off of these 5 or 6 things, because I'm going to see you in a couple of weeks, and we'll see what's going on." So that's where tomorrow's appointment will catch me up a little bit. But it's a work in progress. And I have to be optimistic. It's really an unfair thing what's happened to me and other people, a lot of people.
Yeah.
I think one of the hardest things to hear is when people discount it because you don't walk around complaining, or they
Right.
say, you seem fine. It could take me all day long to get up to go out to dinner for an hour and a half with
Right.
friends. And then you come home and you're catatonic.
Crash. Yeah.
And they're like, you seem fine, Eddie.
Yeah.
But that's really not the case.
Right.
Similarly at work, similarly with everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that a lot of people have it way worse than I do. So I appreciate what you're doing. I think what Dr. Vaughn has done and the team he's put together deserves amazing, amazing accolades. And I feel fortunate that I'm here. I understand there's a huge waiting list for him now, as I could imagine. And I know that there's more and more doctors in Maryland who are saying, I could treat COVID vaccine injured patients. And I don't believe it because they didn't listen to us before.
Right.
And they're trying to find out what could be done. I hope they do learn what could be done or what could be tried. I do know from Dr. Vaughn when I was a little bit discouraged, and I do have meetings with him where I text him afterwards and I apologize for being down because I'm not a down person. You and I have had a lot of time together with Ibu, and I always feel I love people. I love being with people. It's a wonderful group here. So I always try to get up and enjoy my time here while I'm going through everything. But there are times where I'm just so low because I feel like it's taken years off of my life. It's taken quality out of my life. It's affected my family.
Yeah.
And that's not fair.
Right.
And I try to be strong, but they see it. So we push through and try to get the best result we can. But Dr. Vaughn said with vaccine injuries, and I hope I'm not misstating because I don't want to speak for him. If I understood him correctly, he said, we're not having luck with vaccine injuries right now. Long COVID, yes. He said vaccine injuries, the spike protein replicates different because there was no quality control with the vaccines. Some people had, and that would be the case with me, I'm sure, way too much spike protein in the vaccine, and it affects all of your organs.
Yeah.
There was a site, if it's still available, there was a site that's called How Bad Is My Batch? And I looked that up early on with my Pfizer vaccine number. And my number, and I never reported to VAERS. I'm not somebody that needs to report these things or have the government know more about it than they need to. My batch showed an 82% adverse reaction.
Oh, wow.
And that's without me filing a claim
reporting,
or anything. So I got a bad batch, really horrible batch. So one of the things that Dr. Vaughn said is, we're really working, it's experimental. And I said, I feel like I'm a guinea pig, but let's do it. You know, if it could help other people, if it could help me, but if it could help other people, I'm willing to do, and I have so much trust in him, willing to do whatever he suggests. I'm in my 60s. Like I said, I've never been sick. I rarely got sick with colds even. I've always gone toe-to-toe with my doctors. My doctor, who I had most of my life, retired about 6 or 7 years ago, which is when I went to a concierge doctor. And he would say, I'd like you on this. And I'd say, no, I don't want to take medicine. You should be on this. No, I'm not going to take medicine. And he always respected that because he heard the patient. And I was never sick. So for me to have confidence in Dr. Vaughn and say, I'll take anything that you suggest will help, really indicates the trust and the care and the compassion that I know he has for his clients, his patients.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember the first time I met him after going through a very similar experience with all the specialists, all the people telling me I was crazy. I also passed out during my PFTs. I don't know if I ever told you that. And they're like, your numbers look great. I'm like, but I'm not okay. And I had to take my inhaler and I'm passing out. That doesn't make any sense to me. But I can remember the first conversation I had with him too, and he pulled up beside me, had his laptop showing me the PowerPoint. Did you see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I saw the PowerPoint presentation, and I just remember crying while he was talking and thinking, I don't care what he says. I'm going to do it. He's right. No one has ever listened to this whole entire story. So whatever he says for me to do, I'm going to do it. Because he was the first person to listen.
He was the first person that paid attention to everything that was discussed.
Yes.
Everything. And validated it.
And that's a big piece.
Oh my God. Yeah, so both of us are criers.
Oh, well, I wasn't. I didn't know I was, but yes, I did.
But what a relief.
Yeah. Oh, I felt so relieved that someone believed that I was sick, because I'd already been to psych 3 times. And they told me I was crazy, and I started to believe it, at the end of the day. But he validated what I was saying, and he said, I can get you better. And great, let's do it. Whatever that looks like, I'm going to do it. Whatever, path that takes me down, that's what I'm going to do.
Now, you didn't see Dr. Vaughn. You first were introduced to him as a patient?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw him as a patient. After going to Johns Hopkins myself, and after talking to Duke and UCSF, and, I was also at a major academic medical center, and I had seen every single specialist to be told there was nothing wrong with me. So I got to him at the end of all of that. And I know you fly from Maryland, but for me, he's in my backyard, and I had no idea he was, right down the road. I felt silly for, taking that long to find my way to him, but it's interesting how people find their way to him and to our team, because there's no advertisement, right? There's no blinking sign, come here for vaccine injury, long COVID treatment, but somehow people find their way to us. And one of the things that I always enjoy when you're in the clinic and, we're chatting is you're advocating for yourself by taking things into your own hands, by reading and researching. I've learned so much from my patients about things they've learned, things they've tried, things they've done. The patients are so, just knowledgeable because they have to be, right? No one else is helping.
Yes and no. I think it depends on the patient, which
That's true, yeah.
Hopefully these conversations might help some people.
Yeah.
I have never taken what a doctor said to me at face value. And it doesn't mean I don't respect their knowledge, but I've always felt that I needed to absorb and assess for the recommendation and how that fits into my life.
Okay. Yeah, that's you should.
And with all the doctors at Hopkins, I could have gone along and said, I'll keep taking this. And one of the comments that Amy had mentioned is, let's give it a month or 2 with this specialist to see if it helps you before we go to the next. Instead of, like I said, instead of saying, why are all these things happening? But I did seek on my own to try to find out what could go on.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people who are struggling or who intuitively don't believe that they're getting the right advice need to learn that they could do. It's okay to do that because we are responsible for our own care and to be advocates for ourselves.
Right.
And my feeling would be if you're not comfortable or you don't feel like you're getting relief from the treatments, keep searching. Whether it's Dr. Vaughn or somebody who's local to you or somebody who could help you, keep searching, because we did that, and you find some practice that resonates with you. This is the right person. This is the right environment. They hear me. Your whole staff is on board. And if I'm not mistaken, so many of the people who I've met here at MedHelp have met Dr. Vaughn because they've had vaccine injuries.
That's right. Yeah. Majority of us. Yes. That's how we got here.
So the compassion and the understanding is unlike any place I've been.
Yeah.
Talking about where doctors will make you feel like you're crazy.
Yeah.
And that's not an understatement. It's true.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was told there's nothing wrong with you.
Yes. The test looks great.
Dr. Redfield, and again, going back to so many conversations and care from him, and I still see him every 4 to 6 weeks with open arms. And he keeps in touch with Dr. Vaughn.
Mm-hmm.
They look after me jointly. This is what I go through.
Okay.
Dr. Redfield had me pull up some YouTube presentations of people that were presenting to Congress.
Mm.
One day he said to me, "You have to go home and watch this tonight so you see what I'm talking about." And there were 3 people, all of whom could have the same story we did, who were told they needed to see psychiatrists, who were told there was nothing wrong with them, who were told there was no evidence that it's from the vaccine. As a matter of fact, stop blaming the vaccine, right? All of a sudden we were anti-vaxxers, which is not the case.
No, I've had all my vaccines, including the COVID vaccine.
Well, you're a few ahead of me, and he wanted me to watch that so I wouldn't feel alone. So I wouldn't feel like I was crazy.
Right.
And again, he was the first doctor who made me feel like I was heard and there was something to what I was going through.
Yeah.
And he was just tireless to help me to try to come up with solutions. And obviously, when he heard about Dr. Vaughn, he was in touch because he wanted to see how he could work with what Dr. Vaughn has learned to help patients locally.
Yeah.
And I know that they work extensively together.
Yes. And that's what we need, is for people to talk and have these conversations, because we can't help everybody. I mean, I know you mentioned there's a wait list, but we have expanded our team. So hopefully we're able to serve more people, get more people help. But the problem is, across the country, we're behind. And I do think more and more people are listening and waking up to the idea, but there aren't as many people who are willingly treating long COVID and vaccine injury. I think it's changing slowly. I think I've seen the past couple of years, but even still, we need a bigger army. And I think, thank goodness you and I have found our way to get help, but I still think there are plenty of other people who are still trying to figure out what's wrong with them and still being told there's nothing wrong with them. And they haven't found their way, I think, to get to this answer yet.
Yes. And I believe that in so many cases, they have all been brainwashed to not even be open to the possibility that it could be from the vaccine.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, and I've had this conversation with other people. The unfortunate piece of it is it's been politicized. And that, I think, makes it a very taboo subject for us to talk about. And so people see it as a political war. It's not. I mean, it's health, right? I mean, we're just trying to help people. I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, who you voted for. If you didn't vote, no one cares, okay? It's completely irrelevant. It is not about that. It is just about speaking the truth of what has happened. I mean, we are now gathering data. Like, we know that this is a thing. We have trends. We have data. We have, data points. And people are coming to us with these injuries, and from the vaccine and also from the virus itself. But it unfortunately has become such this taboo subject that no one wants to talk about. And I think that's what blocks people. And then you're labeled an anti-vaxxer, but I'm not. We're not anti-vaxxer. I mean, I've had vaccines my entire life as a child and as an adult. I had 5 COVID vaccines, which we won't talk about. Probably hindsight, not a great idea.
Treated.
Yes, not a great idea. Also had COVID 4 times, so they didn't help me. But we're not anti-vaxxers. We're just trying to speak the truth. And Dr. Vaughn knew early on he was watching these trends that didn't bode well, and patient reactions. So it's not that we're anti-vax. It's just we're speaking the truth, and sometimes the truth is.
I believe Dr. Vaughn, of all the doctors I've met, and I have a lot of doctors in my family, so I've grown up in that environment. Mm-hmm. I've always been sort of on the outside of what I believe is good for my medical care, less traditional, I should say. Dr. Vaughn looks at things and tries to make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Our experience, my experience, and probably yours and so many others, you go to a specialist and they are so focused on their specialty.
Yes.
Instead of saying, well, if you're having trouble breathing, it's got to be your lungs.
100%.
Whereas Dr. Vaughn looked at globally what's going on and said, well, if it's your lungs and your eyes and cognitive, then maybe you're not getting air and it's not supporting these other organs.
Right.
If your legs are sore, maybe you're not getting the blood from your legs to your lungs. And he's a true doctor. He's a true medical professional instead of being he's open to learning,
Sure.
which is where he's an amazing healer. I'll mention one other thing where I talk about what continues, and maybe it's been explained in earlier conversations, but when I asked what the microclots do versus a regular clot, and I don't know if that's something I might talk on.
Please, go ahead.
But a clot could move around your body, adhere somewhere and break off, and you could have a stroke or a heart attack or what other reaction from that clot being separate. With a microclot, they're so small, and I use my hands because this is how Dr. Vaughn showed me. They go through your veins and they tear the inside of your vein. And I think this is important for people to understand if they're feeling pain elsewhere. And I have pain everywhere. My hands, my back, my legs, my feet, even after the surgeries. But it tears the inside of your veins and then they collapse. So that was described to me with the iliac vein, with the MRI showing iliac vein compression.
Right.
And I said, well, what's to keep that from happening throughout my whole venous system? And as a caring person would say, let's focus on the iliac vein first. As I mentioned, it then went to the ablation for the left leg. We're doing ultrasounds tomorrow because I'm having trouble with my right leg now and other places. But I got in touch with a neurologist who I saw from my migraines who did not believe that it was vaccine related. I got in touch with him a few months ago and I said, so I haven't been around because it was a vaccine injury and these are all the things I'm doing, but I'm having so much trouble remembering and cognitive, and people watch this and say he seems fine. Well, an hour from now,
crash.
I'm going to have trouble walking to my room. So he said, did we ever do an MRI? No, we didn't. So we did an MRI, which Johns Hopkins, he has still not called me back with an MRI that showed problems. Dr. Vaughn got the report. This is 4 months ago. Dr. Vaughn got the report, and I texted him several times, can we review the MRI? Crickets. Let's fund them for more research. Dr. Vaughn saw the MRI. First thing he said was, this isn't good. I want you to have a neck MRI. Can you stay here another day? He got on the phone with the radiologist, and that afternoon, the end of the day, they did a neck MRI with contrasting dye, which the insurance company wouldn't pay for.
Imagine that.
What the MRI in the brain contrast and then in the neck shows that there's now pooling in the blood vessels here, and we're trying to figure out how to handle that. So as I was describing damaging your whole venous system, now it's affecting here and here, which he believes affects the cognitive. Now, one of the side effects that I've had, and I don't know if you had this, it's horrible. I've become very withdrawn. I stay home. I haven't gone to my office for almost a year. People come to my house. I'm about 2 miles from my office. They come to my house for meetings. We're in touch on the phone. I try to work what I can every day, but that's not my personality.
Right. Yeah.
But you become very lonely.
Yeah.
Because you're disconnected. I feel that when I'm out with people or in places, there's a disconnect between what's going on and the time I'm registering it. You almost feel like there's a little bit of a time warp.
Yeah, it's like an out-of-body experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you're experiencing it too.
Yeah.
So when Dr. Vaughn saw the MRI and then was savvy enough to say, I want to see what's happening from here to here, and there's problems here now, the thought was, that could be part of the cognitive issue.
Mm-hmm.
And gee, we really haven't done MRIs on the brain. I mean, who would do it?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So he's been trying to get me in touch with a neurologist. Of course, the neurologist I have
Right.
canceled 2 appointments. I don't know why, but we're working on it. So it comes back to Dr. Vaughn being the person who jumps into whatever
Right.
to try to help you and give you answers.
Yeah. So it's interesting that you bring that up because I had almost the exact same experience with my pulmonologist. Because they just gave me inhalers and told me I had reactive airway disease and everything was fine. I had a VQ scan that they refused to get on me, and I had clots in my lungs. I had a perfusion defect, and they refused to answer my phone calls or messages after that, which is crazy. I'm not trying to prove you wrong. I'm just trying to prove there's something right with me. But now you've got an MRI of your brain that your neurologist is. I mean, that's when you need a neurologist, right? I've got clots in my lungs. I need help from a pulmonologist now, but now they're dismissing you altogether. It's bizarre to me how that works. And it's not a matter of who's right or wrong, right? I mean, it's just finding data and information. They needed something objective to see that I was sick. And here it is. And now they don't want to see me anymore. It's very strange how that works.
It is. I went to an ENT because I have horrible tinnitus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear that a lot, especially with vaccine injured.
Horrible.
Yeah.
So I had hearing tests and my hearing is fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I I have some fun doctor stories. A wonderful doctor who came from my cousin's small town. So it was kind of fun to connect that way. But I said, this really started with the vaccine. And he said, there's no vaccine injury. When I saw him a year later, after I saw Dr. Vaughn, and I said, lo and behold, it is a vaccine injury. And these are the things I'm doing. And this is a quote. Until Hopkins tells us that there's enough research to say that there are vaccine injuries, we cannot acknowledge there are vaccine injuries. But I will tell you, I have a lot of patients who tell me they have ringing in the ears, tinnitus, since the vaccine, but we can't correlate them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all about that evidence-based medicine. I have learned the hard way that checking a box like they do, it's not right. I mean, and you said yourself, listening to patients, I mean, Dr. Vaughn listened to me, and I try to do that with my patients. And a lot of times, that's all that it takes is just listening and hearing all the things that are going on. It gives you a lot of clues about what's going on with the patient. And then I start to learn patterns. As one patient tells me this, another patient tells me this. I don't need a research study to know that this is happening in my patients who've had the vaccine or who've had the virus. I mean, I'm listening and gathering these patterns, and that's what Dr. Vaughn does every single day. But unfortunately, medicine and traditional healthcare is driven by, we have to have a research study and it has to be published. And then I even question those things. Who's publishing? Who's monitoring all these things? I mean, who's even doing that? And of course, the people who are pushing the vaccines on us that made us take them or pressured us to take them, they're never going to come back and say, oh, maybe we shouldn't have done that, or maybe they did cause injury. I mean, I think a lot of things come to light the more we move away from this. It's very interesting to see how when I go back to my providers, which they've all either kicked me out or I've kicked them out one way or the other. When I go back to them, it's a very interesting conversation. But
you're not a difficult person.
Oh, no.
I've known you for a long time now.
Yeah. I mean, I just want, at this point, I'm asking, I'm better. I don't need you, right? I don't need you to take care of me. I'm better. Help me help other people is the story I'm trying to tell. Look at how I'm better. Look at how I got there. Would you at least listen to me now as a colleague so we can help more people? And that's the conversation that I'm having. That's not going very well, but, I still want to tell my story and try to get them on board. And I think listening to people like you and telling your story, I mean, that's what's going to help get the momentum going.
And I hope it does. I have been asked by Dr. Redfield to talk to some patients who are earlier on than where I am.
Yeah.
And they're not able to do their job, or the same thing that everybody thinks you're nuts. I could work for an hour or two and then I can't work.
Yeah.
Or they freeze, or they can't remember things and their employers don't understand. And then it's a question as to whether they could keep their jobs.
Yes.
And one person who Dr. Redfield had me talk to, and I'm happy to do that. And I know that's this foundation's purpose. And I had mentioned to Mimi and Dr. Vaughn, wherever I could help, I will. Because people need to know that there's a way to move forward with this.
Yes.
Whether it's quick or not. January will be 2 years that I'm here. And as I said, we thought it was a 3 to 6 month thing.
Right.
All right. Didn't work out that way for me. But I'm a lot better than I was.
Yeah.
I did not expect to be alive now.
Yeah.
So I might complain. I might have these problems. I might have the cognitive issues or the frustration or the exhaustion. But then you have to stop and realize it's a long process.
Yes.
And these things are still replicating in my blood, and you're taking it one step at a time. You have to be optimistic. And it's not every day that you're optimistic. But when I've talked to these people and I say, this is what I've gone through,
Mm-hmm.
and I hear you, and Dr. Redfield's going to help you.
Mm-hmm.
And Dr. Redfield has advice and a practice for you. And there are steps that you could take. And it's a slow process, but it's towards healing.
Right.
And that's what people need to understand. It's don't give up. The vaccine was, for whatever reason, I have my opinions. I consider it more population control, but I'm told that that's absolutely wrong because it saved lives, and perhaps it has. I only know people who know of somebody who knows of somebody.
Mm-hmm.
But with all the people I've known from work and thousands of people, I don't know anybody who, other than his maybe taken some medicine, Pavloks or whatever it was called, for a week. I don't know anybody who's really had serious problems other than 80 and 90-year-olds,
Mm-hmm.
Which I do know some people have anyway, that's not for me to say. I just feel that we were misled and wronged by this, and we need to be the voice that helps people find a way out of it.
Right.
And maybe that's the best we could hope for. And as time goes on, there's going to be more and more treatments and practices that are going to heal us quicker. So you and I are on the front end of this, right?
Yeah. I mean, I can't think of a better place to be, right? I mean, and patients ask me every day, so you're healed. And that question is so hard for me because I am out of bed and I am breathing and I can go to work, right? Where before I met Dr. Vaughn, I couldn't do any of those things. Okay. But I mean, I know we've discussed this. There's ups and downs. I don't know what this has done to my body long term, right? We all have issues we continue to find and pop up. I mean, have inflammatory issues and all sorts of things that I never had before. And so in some ways, I think we're dealing with a chronic disease, right? Right. And I don't know that we're ever going to be normal again. So I like to be very transparent with patients. I mean, no, I don't feel like I did before COVID. I don't know if I'll ever feel that way, but I am so much better and I can function and we can help you. And then the next day we learn something else, we try something else, and we get you further down that path. But, we're kind of building the plane while we're flying it. And so, I very carefully answer those questions to patients about being well and being healed, because I want to be truthful and say, I am so much better. We are so much better to even be having this conversation right now. But I still think there's challenges ahead, and we don't know long term what this vaccine and what this virus has done to us, and how it's going to replicate and continue. And, but there's certainly hope for being better.
Well, and how unfair has it been what you've gone through, what I've gone through, and so many people to their families, to the kids?
Yeah.
We don't talk about how we feel every day in front of our kids because we don't want them to worry.
Right.
But they see that you're struggling, or dad's not going to work so much, or dad, we just had a few events And we're fortunate that we could enjoy certain things in life. But my daughter got a job at Catalina Island for marine science
Oh, wow.
as a teacher. She graduated last May. Little plug for Dara.
Yeah.
She got an immediate job. So we were going to fly to California and take her to Catalina Island in August. I couldn't go. Couldn't do the trip. We had a wedding in Arizona for a nephew of mine. Teresa went by herself. I couldn't go. These are things that your family and your kids see.
Yeah.
Not to mention how devastating that is to us.
Right.
Because you can't get on a plane, and then once you're there, you can't perform driving around and visiting and everything else for the 2 or 3 days and then get back on a plane.
Yeah.
So the quality of life has been so impacted for us, and then how it affects our family.
Right.
And that's just so unfair. It's just I shouldn't say unfair. It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
That's really what it is.
Well, yes, and I've talked to a lot of patients. I mean, every day, and a lot of them do come with their family into the clinic, and I've had family here talking about. And for the first time, they're saying in front of each other, to each other, like what it looks like to see the other one sick, or how hard it's been, when that was the strong person who was go, 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 and now they're not, or they were the caretaker and now they can't be. I mean, I think about that with a lot of diseases, that have been overlooked in the past. Maybe we're, going to bring those back to the forefront, but you're right. It's completely debilitating. I fight for disability for patients every single day for a disease that you can't even see. And so their employers are arguing, why can't they work? But they can't stand up. And if they can, they can't think, and I can remember times when I couldn't get out of bed physically. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't walk my muscles. And I thought, well, I'll just work on my computer because at least I can lay in the bed and do that. Complete crash, because the brain is also using oxygen. And that depletes you as well. And people don't think about that.
And they don't believe it.
No, and they don't.
Because if you see them and you're talking to them, as we are now,
right.
It's like,
yeah. But
Summer seems fine.
Yeah, it's just great.
It's great.
No, they don't see the crash that happens before, or all of the rest that had to happen, up until that point.
I had lunch with a new friend a couple of weeks ago who I introduced her to Dr. Redfield, and she was beside herself excited. She's from Virginia, so it was a bit of a drive for her. And at lunch, she said, what people don't realize is they see you for an hour and they think, well, you're making this up. You're just complaining about the vaccine.
Right.
She said, what they don't understand is when I go home, I can't even use a hairbrush to brush my hair.
Right.
And I think that's really a valid point for those of us who are going through it, because we live with it 24 hours a day. So the hour or two that we're on, or that we've done something that enables us to be on, is really misleading for those who don't live with us or see us on a more regular basis.
Yeah, that's hard. I mean, that's still something I struggle with. And especially I have a child who has long COVID too. So I'm trying to rally all the time. Even if I have a bad day, you want to pretend like you're not, and make it look okay. But, some days are harder than others. But I do want to just kind of wrap up and shift gears a little bit, because we've talked so much about being sick. Tell me something hopeful, and tell me something about your journey that is positive, that we're moving towards a better wellness, and not so much, I know that you've been sick and you continue to be sick, but we want to get you past that. So what is something you're hopeful for, and what is something that is better that we're progressing towards?
I'm considerably better than I was a year ago.
Great.
So all of the different medications and the associated surgeries have had a positive impact.
Good.
Is it fast enough? Well, it's never fast enough. It's also unknown territory.
Yeah.
I'm optimistic in that I'm able to do more things now. Carefully. I don't want to make plans that overextend my time or my energy. But I wasn't able to do this a short while ago. So I feel that all of the changes in medications and the things that we're doing and just time, because it also takes time, should be looked at as a very optimistic journey.
Good.
I continue with EBU. I think last time I was here, we said 16 EBUs already.
Yeah, I was looking
Tomorrow's 17.
17. I was looking at your chart last week, and we were talking about the time they stuck you in your foot, and we counted up all of your EBUs, and it was tomorrow's number 17. I mean, that's a lot.
It's a lot. And I also do Myers IVs 2 or 3 times a month.
Yeah.
Again, insurance doesn't cover that.
Right. Yeah.
But I go to a wonderful facility in Timonium, Maryland. Same thing. Such caring people. The nurses who were there providing the IVs still are not sure that there was a vaccine injury, but they have patients in there who are claiming vaccine injuries. But so that has helped my veins a lot. Because as we talked about, we couldn't have successful EBUs with veins collapsing or valves or all these other problems. Well, now I don't have that problem. As a matter of fact, when I was here last, it was probably the fastest that anything got clicked in and pumping through.
Yeah.
So that's progress.
Yeah.
And those are the things that we have to hold on to for those times that we feel frustrated or withdrawn. And you have to remind yourself, hey, this is a lot better. And it's true. I'm a really involved caretaker in my family. Whether they want me to do it or not, I'm always trying to look after everybody. And Teresa's the same way. But anything I could do, and when you feel weakened by what you're going through, it makes you feel really deflated. So on an optimistic standpoint, better than it was. We're trying to make some plans to do more things together. The medicines where we cut back a couple of weeks ago, I feel a little better since not being on all those medicines. And every medicine has a lot of side effects.
Sure, yeah.
So the question is, how do we balance? And I know Dr. Vaughn's going to be paying attention to that. And I know he's going to have a good solution.
Yeah.
I feel really good about the foundation that was started here. And I'm really honored and I want to participate with helping you to let people know that they need to be optimistic.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy not to be.
Yeah.
When you're with the conventional medicine these days, how could you be optimistic?
Yeah.
And I hate to say it that way, but it wasn't that the case for you?
No, 100%. Yes. And people ask me all the time, once they start to feel better, what can I do to help? And the thing I tell them is share your story. Tell people your story. Tell them, be honest about what happened. If you had gaslighting, say that. How did you find your way to us? How did you, and not that we're right, but we need help treating other people. So tell your story. You didn't feel well. Now you feel better. How did you get to that point? Because the more I think people tell their story, the more people we get to listen, then we can have more people helping and trying to get that, army and energy moving forward. But that's what I encourage people to do is just tell your story. And that's what we're here to do. And, I appreciate you doing that. If you could, in one word, say what your journey about your healthcare journey, what, if you could describe it in one word, what would that one word be?
Challenging.
Yes. Okay. Challenging.
Challenging. I think we have faith. I think that Dr. Redfield once said, several times have said to me, I'm not healing you.
Yeah.
You need to have a spiritual belief. That's who's going to heal you. I'm just an instrument. And regardless of your faith, I think that it's really comforting to know that people are not looking at you as a patient, but as a person. And I think that's a huge difference that I see with my current medical team. So when the one word turned out to be a couple of paragraphs.
That's okay. No, that's okay.
It's challenging, but it's not necessarily a negative. It's challenging knowing that we're working through this.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's hope, light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, you did mention, and it is kind of ironic, a lot of our team also have been treated by Dr. Vaughn. That's how we got here. But I think that makes us a team together with the patient, right? Because I am also a patient and we are also patients, and we're figuring this out together, and you're bringing me things to read and I'm reading them, and that's just what we do. I mean, I think when we stop questioning, we stop being curious, and we stop listening, I mean, that's where we're going to halt. But we're all in this together. I mean, and I think it is challenging. It is challenging personally. It's challenging professionally, but I always enjoy hearing your insight about all the things you've learned and all the things you've read and all the things you've tried. And, I just want to say thank you for telling the truth always, and for being supportive and for being patient, because, we're figuring things out as we go.
I feel so fortunate that you have come into my life.
Yeah.
I mean, really. I feel blessed.
Yeah.
So thank you.
No, I appreciate it. And Mr. Balter brings us cake and when he comes, so we always enjoy his visit with us. But it is since I have left traditional medicine, one of the things I love the most about this and getting to do this is that I have such a different relationship with my patients now. And we are definitely in the same boat together, and we all got to row together to get to the common place. But it has definitely been a career and personal, life-changing experience, to have people like you alongside this journey. And I can say, hey, I've had this procedure done too, and this is what it feels like, and it's going to be okay, and we'll eat cake together at the end.
You're putting pressure on me for tomorrow.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, bring us cake. But no, I just want to say thank you, for sharing your story always, not just today, but every time that you come, and for empowering other patients that you come across in our clinic and talking to them. And I know you said Dr. Redfield had you talk to patients, and really that's what it's going to take, is us speaking the truth, and kind of it's therapeutic to talk about, and support each other to kind of get through it. So thank you. Is there anything else that you want anyone who's listening to know, whether it's providers, politicians, patients, whoever it is?
It would be great if doctors would trust more of their instincts to try to listen to patients and come up with solutions than here's some pills, here's this, because their training is beyond anything I could do.
Yeah.
It's not that they're not interested in healing people, but it's that mindset of stepping back. I mentioned there's some fun connections with doctors. Dr. Redfield said when I was reading about him before I visited him, first visit, he was at Georgetown Medical School. My uncle was a teacher at Georgetown Medical School. He was the youngest person to graduate from Georgetown Medical School, way back. He's since passed. So I asked Dr. Redfield if he knew my uncle, and he said, "I took classes with your uncle."
Oh.
And there again, it's Dr. Redfield mentioned, and I know my uncle is that way. You listen to a patient. Dr. Vaughn is a 10 out of 10 with that.
Yeah.
Just listen to your patient, because we're not coming in here whining and complaining. We want some help.
Right.
And that's all we want. And if you don't know how to do something, then that's okay. Yeah. I'm okay hearing that.
Yes.
But don't tell me I'm wrong or I'm not feeling something.
Yes. If one provider could have said to me, I don't know, that would have been better, then there's nothing wrong with you. I don't know. Let's look, that would have been way better to me. Right. And Dr. Vaughn will say that too. I don't know. Let's look into it. Let's check it out. Let's do it. I mean, yes, let's do that. But that's the validation. No, I completely agree with you. So that message, I hope, got conveyed in our conversation today, is to listen. And I hope that there is someone who listens to this and, advocates for themselves and finds their way to, it doesn't have to be Dr. Vaughn or Dr. Redfield or our team, but whoever will listen, I hope that, empowers them to do that.
And search things out on the internet.
Yeah.
We could do that more so now than we could have 2 years ago.
That is true. Yes. AI and Chat GPT and all of the things, although be careful what you read on the internet. But yes, there's definitely more things readily available than there were a couple of years ago, for sure. Well, thank you again for coming to talk to us today. And I know you've got a long week ahead of appointments and procedures with us, so I'll be seeing you throughout the week. But thank you guys also for listening to Mr. Balter today talk about his journey. And we're still on that journey to healing. But, as he said, don't give up and listen. And hopefully you can also find your path to healing and getting better and getting back to that baseline before all of this. So thank you for listening for this episode of The Long Haul with Summer.